Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them, including a special series with narrator Shane East. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast is brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. My guest today is narrator Wesleigh Siobhan. Welcome, Wesleigh, to the Audiobook Lovin.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Me too. Why don't we start with having you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrated, and how you got started?
I started as a voice actor, and a friend talked to me about narrating, and I was like, okay, I don't know, but let's figure it out. I just started listening a lot and just thought it was something I could try. And so I did, and it kind of worked out for me. And my first book was Annie Up by Christina C. Jones. Will always be dear to my heart. That was about a year and a half ago. About.
See what Audible says, because Audible, not that it's accurate, but
I think last March.
Christina Jones, is it? You said Anti Up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was published July 16th, 2019.
Oh, okay. So about a year.
Yeah, at least a year. Yeah, you've been doing this for a year.
Yeah.
You got to be celebrating these anniversaries, girl. These little,
You gonna get me together though, so I ain't worried about
Yep,
it.
I'll get you together.
I ain't worried about it at all.
No.
God knew.
Yeah. So I know. So this one, and the reason I'm bringing it up is, so you co-narrated that book with Mr. Jacoby Diem.
Yes, I did.
So we're going to be doing things a little bit differently in this episode because over at Jonesing for Jacoby, which is his official fan group, they love and adore you. They just they love your performance and are always constantly raving about you. And I thought it would be fun to include them in this interview.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So I asked them to submit some questions that they had, and then I would sprinkle them around throughout the entire chat that we're going to be doing. But this way, they're also part of this conversation.
I love that.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
It's a great community, and I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the listeners, and these fan groups wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the fans. And so anytime that I can bring them into part of the conversation or part of the journey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I like that.
And like I said, they were loving and raving about you, and there was a lot of questions, but there was a lot more about, oh my gosh, she's so awesome, which I love when fans gush over the narrators. It's so cute. I love it because I'm like, I'm a fangirl too, so it's not just me.
That's so cool. So sweet.
So I'm going to start with, and I'm going to call out Alexandria House because I've had her on my list of, she's an author, and I've had her on my list of to read and listen to her books. She did say to tell you that she loves what you bring to her stories and how you bring to her stories to life.
Aw, thank you, Miss House. I love working on her. Oh, because we did that whole that trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Them boys. Oh my God. Yeah, that was fun. That was. Oh man, I'm just thinking back on that. Because what's so dope is like how I'm just remembering the men and how they were all like these just gargantuan, like these big, sexy. Just remember like their bodies and like how chocolate they were. And yeah, it was a lot of sex, especially that last one. Anyway, okay, I'm reminiscing on the past.
Yeah, but I love that too. I love hearing you guys enjoy the stories that you've narrated because it also makes us go, oh, she really had fun. I'm going to get that one if they haven't listened to it yet. But yeah, she wanted to know if you have any formal training as an actress or anything like that in your past.
Some, yeah. I did a lot of acting in high school and some in college. And then, you go to college and you're like, I think I want to do something else. And so I was a PR major for like a hot second. And then found my way back to acting, which led me to voice acting, which led me to audiobooks. So yeah, just a lot of theater as a kid, and high school and some college, which is always really cool because theater stretches you as an actor the way other mediums ask you to kind of tone it down some. So like after you've already been like, you've explored all the ways that you can use your voice or use your body, being in front of the microphone, you're just, in a way, you activate your imagination so much more, which informs the voice in a completely different way. But now I know, because I was on stage, I know how to use my voice in different ways. But I do feel like too, like one of the greatest gifts of being a narrator is that you get such vivid detail from the text that, you kind of put yourself right there in the space, in the moment. And you get to, it's kind of, you have a co-narrator, but you're also in partnership with the author, because they've already created so much texture. And you kind of just get on the journey with them. If you can, one thing I learned about narrating audiobooks is like, I don't have to do a whole lot because it's already there on the page. You just kind of lift what's already there. That might have been a long answer. My apologies.
No, you're fine. You're good. Do you have a home studio, or do you go to studios to do your audiobooks?
Well, listen, COVID happened, so we all have home studios. But before that, I would go to a studio to record, and then things, everything happened, and like immediately, I still work with voiceover agents, and they were like, "Hey, we can do everything for you, but record you here." And that day, I ordered everything that I needed, and within 2 weeks, figured out how to record myself at home, and it was daunting, but it was. I'm so glad I did it, because I've been able to still work.
Yeah, and it probably also allowed a little bit more freedom for your own scheduling, because it's totally up to you versus when the studio is available.
Girlfriend, I'm never going back. Okay, because everybody's like, "Girl, you don't need a home studio. You could just, if they go to send you somewhere, you just go." I said, yeah, y'all are right. But then once I had it here, and it definitely took some adjusting to get used to figuring it all out. And then also, I immediately became like I have a dog, so I immediately became a stay-at-home, work-from-home dog mom. But so I had to learn, like, how does that now fit into my life, or how do I now structure my life so that this works for me? And I'm at a place now where I really like it. I will forever record at home. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to figure this part out.
I think it's the whole working from home thing. I know it's daunting sometimes for some, and also it can be very lonely because you're in a box by yourself, talking to yourself as different characters. Psychologist, wet dream. And you do this for a living. But I'm sure that it does allow for more flexibility to be able to schedule yourself. And if you don't want to do it today in the morning because you're tired, you can do it later, and that's okay. So it's good that you guys are getting your home studios done. So when you do get cast for a book, how do you prep it for new? How do you go about prepping the book that you're going to be narrating?
I mean, like the basic stuff is just read it. Anything I don't know or I need a pronunciation for, I look it up. Oftentimes, like there might be mention of certain cards, and I'm like, first of all, I don't know what that is or how to pronounce it. So I'll look that up. But it's also good to have the images of like different locations that we get to go to, cars, clothes. Sometimes, like, what I find really helpful is to make a kind of like a vision board, but like a not a collage, but what I'm trying to say, I'll find images of what I think these people look like, especially when I've run into scenes where there are a lot of people talking, and I need to have like a quick mental reference or visual of who this person is to me. And so I find that really helpful to do during prep. And it just helps you stay consistent. Although like there are times you're like, wait a minute, that's not that person, that's the other person. So you got to go back and like fix the voice. But yeah. And then all of my authors have been so generous. Like if I have questions about things, they're always available, so quick to respond, which is awesome and very appreciated. What else do I do? So sometimes
Yeah.
it's helpful to like chat with your co-narrator to get a sense of voices that they might be using for different characters. That's always helpful. A lot of times though, I don't know. I think that intuition is so real. Like there's times when I've been reading a character and I'm automatic, like I'll hear or read the first couple lines and I'm like, oh, know who she is or know who he is. And I'll make a note for myself, like who I'm referencing. And then the more I read, I'm like, I was right. You know, that was that. And then sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I got to go back. It's like, oh, let me switch that to so-and-so. But
well, I know that one of the questions that was asked in the group was about dual narration. And if you do talk to your co-narrator to kind of figure out the visions and the tones, and you briefly mentioned that, does it help though to have those conversations more so than not when it comes down to more specific, like how much of an accent, or are they, how gravelly are you going to make this and for me to do? Is that something that you guys try to connect with as much as possible with your co-narrators?
Yeah, I mean, I do find that a lot is already in the text. So like, if someone has an accent, oftentimes they'll say it's thick or, a slight. The narrator, no narrator, the author gives you a lot of information. But yeah, it is definitely helpful to even hear, like we might pre-record sometimes and say, okay, I'm going in this direction with the character. Like let's say somebody has like a heavy like Australian accent or something. And it's like, well, how heavy is heavy for you? Because Australian might not be my, so I'm gonna need you to lighten that up a little bit for me, that kind of thing. But yeah, it is always helpful to talk about as much as you can. So yeah, oh God, I remember one time, like, I think I missed something. I forget what it was. It was somebody's pronunciation, somebody's name. And I'm texting, like my co-narrator, like, respond immediately because I need to know. So like how you're pronouncing this. But I don't know. It's cool. They kind of get it and understand, and you try to get ahead of as much as you can.
I know you were saying that a lot of the information of how the characters are part of the text, but at the same time, how do you go about selecting how each characters is going to sound? Because you want to give everybody their distinct voices and stuff like that. So how's your process for that?
I think well, main character, I try to keep as close to me as possible. And then all the like supporting characters, whatever vibe they are, I just try to kind of I'll either use like a reference of someone that I know or a character from a show or something like, or like my favorite actress, whatever. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think I try to get a sense of what they need and go to that place. But it's important, right, to like make sure that they're clear, different enough from the main character so that the listener knows, okay, this is so and so now in the scene. It's interesting though, because I think everybody has a different way of doing that. Like I've heard some narrators don't necessarily do a lot of different, I hate to say voices because I feel like this is not like, it's not like animation where you're creating voices. But I guess
Distinction
just
tones. Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, just shifting the tone. But because like when I listen to audiobooks, even if the narrator hasn't said this is character B now talking to character A, you can always feel the difference. You can feel the shift. And I think again, a lot of that just has to do with the writing. And just I guess just the mode of storytelling.
Yeah, sometimes there are some narrators out there that when I first started listening to audiobooks, I had to figure this out, where there's some narrators out there that literally just read you the story
Mm,
versus perform the story.
mm,
And that's okay. And so I just have to,
mhm,
when I'm picking up a book that narrator is going to tell me the story,
mhm, mhm,
uh, I mentally prepare myself to just listen to the story.
mhm.
And then, I think sometimes there's things missing and I'm like, I wish so-and-so was really recording this instead of, but I still get the story. So that's a good thing, because there's enough
Yeah.
of distinctions and stuff like that. But you guys, and I know like you do a phenomenal job with performing the story. And so it's almost like watching a movie that kind of just like
Mm,
goes in front of you. Like you kind of get into this haze and you're seeing the characters because you're describing them, whether it's as a character and stuff like that. And also your voice, we can envision what these characters
mhm.
look like. And so it becomes almost like a movie because you're performing it.
Yeah, you're right. I do perform.
Mhm.
I never thought about it like that, but I'll be in here like,
Mhm.
just whatever because I think too, I didn't mention this, but I should, that I found other narrators when I was first getting started and got coaching. And that was one of the things that was said to me, like maybe this guy, when he talks, he raises his eyebrow because it's like, he's questioning things that people are saying to him,
Mhm.
or like the girl that's just like, or you know what I just sometimes like a character will be smoking a cigarette. So like I gotta give her a cigarette because she's like, what are you talking like, huh? Whatever. So yeah, I am performing. I'm having a little show here.
Mhm.
There's a
Well,
lot
yeah.
of mannerisms and gestures.
And at the same time, you're probably thinking, I got to do this quietly. You're
Yes,
gesturing.
that too. Yeah, for sure. Or
Mhm.
you think it. Sometimes I have to think the gesture,
Mm,
um, and not do it because you're absolutely right. The microphone picks it all up.
yeah. And I know that's something too. It's great that you mentioned the coaching. One of the questions also was about, what you suggest or, for new narrators, any advice and stuff. And I know that coaching and getting that when you first start is definitely something that I know I always say that as a listener. It's great to get that, the narrators that have been coached and by other peers or instructors
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. Would you say the same thing as far as that it was a great idea for you to do get the coaching and that you would suggest that?
I would. I think it was a great idea for me because um, I feel like mm, a lot of trouble spots, shall we say, or like uh, bad habits that you could get into.
Mhm.
A lot of things were just pointed out to me from the beginning of like, okay, be mindful of that. Or when you're doing this, do that. When you get to the end of a sentence or when you get to a new paragraph, think about this. So for a while, when you first learn something and then you go to do it, you've got your teacher in your
Mhm.
head or your coach in your head still talking to you. And so that was really helpful to me because I feel like there were a lot of bad habits that I didn't pick up because they were already kind of shown to me from the beginning, like, okay, be mindful of that. And I think it's good to stay with a coach periodically because you might not have that one thing that you do, but maybe you develop something else. And the coach will then just help you to keep getting better. Um, and then just you get to, because even if you're great, right? Like even if you do everything well, there's still room for improvement.
Well, there's always, I think there's always room for improvement. And I think that
Right.
your voice is a tool. And like with any tool,
Mm,
you have to keep it sharpened, and there's always a different way of sharpening it. And so whether it's
mm-hmm.
a posture or breathing technique or accents, you
Ah,
may want to learn a
yes.
new accent and,
Yes.
or you want to dull down your accents. Cause I know I have a narrator that's new and it's Canadian and sometimes
Mm,
it comes out and he's like, damn it.
mm,
And I'm like, it's okay,
yeah.
so it's important and it's good. It's growth, it's development. It's always good. I'm a learner, so I'm constantly liking to
Yeah.
learn. So yeah,
Me
coaching is a good
too.
idea. Hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of the accents though, we are a sucker for accents.
Yay.
We are. I'm not gonna lie. Do you have a favorite accent to perform?
No. I don't.
Not necessarily that you have done in books either, because sometimes you just haven't been cast yet as the Irish princess or something like that, right? But you may love to do the Irish accent. So is there an accent in general that you like to do?
Well, no, and don't ask me to do it, but I had to learn a Scottish accent for something, and I had a lot of fun with that. That was fun. But the accent thing kind of goes along with the coaching thing for me too, because I think it's really important to be practicing something before you actually need it. Because sometimes when you need it right away.
Yes.
And so I that's something I would love to start adding to my practice, is just working on accents, when I don't need them. But I don't have, you know what? I don't know. There's so many things that I like. Like I like the French. I like the Scottish. I want to get into that Australian because that is hard. And then just the different American accents, you know. I could explore those some more, just to even bring my characters even more specificity with their sound. Would be cool to do.
Yeah. I think, again, it's another, tool in your toolbox that you bring to
Totally.
the table, and they can be fun. I know
Yeah, I was
sometimes
just thinking that.
it just can be fun. I mean, I'm not a narrator, and I will bust out the Irish or the British accent when I feel like it, depending on what I'm saying. Stop being a wanker, because they're being a
Yeah.
dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and again, we're suckers for it. So it calls it, when it calls for it. But yeah, they can be fun. So it's cool that
Mhm.
that you want to learn more of the dialects and the different accents and stuff. And even in the States,
Yeah.
we do have it. And that's the other thing too. Listeners are picky.
Uh-huh.
If you bust out with the characters from Georgia and you come out with a Texan accent,
Ooh, child. See.
oh, that is a no.
What?
It's the same thing like for the pronunciations. Louisville.
Mm,
They know when you're a visitor.
that's right. That's right.
Same thing with like Atlanta. I think it's another one
Yeah.
I've been told. So yeah, those accents are important, and because
Yes.
again, the listener is from there.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a hometown for them, for all we know. And you want to also pay homage and truth and stay true to it.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true. I get it.
Yeah,
I
that's
totally
cool.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to talk to you off air later saying, so which accents are you gonna be working on now? keep us posted,
Mhm.
practice with your audience, your fans and stuff, and do little welcome
Yeah,
messages in the accents.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Romance is an umbrella term when it comes down to the genre. So I always say that's an umbrella term because it's this huge thing that there's underneath it.
Yeah.
There's so many subgenres. Is
Mhm.
there a genre in romance that you have yet to narrate that you would like to narrate in?
Ooh,
Mhm.
that's a good question. Oh my God. You know, I have met a lot of funny characters in the romance novels that I've done. I have even taken some liberties and made some things funny, like, or just brought a certain vibe to well, no, maybe I didn't take liberties, but I might have pushed the envelope as far as I could with certain characters.
Mhm.
But I would love to do a straight up like rom-com, just like it's just straight up funny romance. And I haven't done that. Um I also I don't know what, okay, like One Exquisite Touch, right?
Mhm.
The the work that I got to do on it was, I also don't know yet all the degrees of the erotica. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yes, your different kinks.
I don't know
Yeah.
all the different kinks, but I do want to get into some kink. Like, I definitely want to explore more of the kink. So that's a request for the
Okay.
world to, like, I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, you're mentioning One Exquisite Touch, which is by Lauren Blakely, and you have been cast in that, which I was so excited when she mentioned that you were cast in there. Your character is in between the whole book, but we get you at one point, but the main story, which is probably what you're talking about regarding the king, is between a woman who has a night and a masquerade situation ball with two gentlemen, and they are very passionate about making sure that she is pleasured. And one of the reasons why I love this series by Lauren Blakely is that it empowers the women.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm going to go back and listen to that. Like, I'm putting that on my must listen list because
it empowers the women. It allows us to have some of these kinks per se that might be, some people might be like, oh, why does she, we worked hard to be in charge. Why does she want to be in charge in the bedroom too? I'm like, because I'm in charge all freaking day. I want to be told what to do when I go into the bedroom, for an example, right?
That's just real. Yes.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things. And also the respect and the trust that is within that couple at that time. Because with anything, there has to be that trust level. And so what she's done with this After Dark series is allowed the women to explore and discover and that it's, and not shame.
Yeah. And
that's important. And so, that One Exquisite Touch is hot. It's hot. That's coming out soon. By the time this airs, it had already been released, but it's if you have not listened to that, fair warning, it is hot. Some ideas might be inspired.
Right.
Yeah. But there's so many, like, that's where it comes down to it. There's so many different varieties of romance, anything from the rom-com, like you were saying, to the PNR and the shifters and the vampires, to the different levels of erotica and erotic romance, because there's a difference. And the BDSM and all that stuff. There's just so much that it's fantastic, though, because one day you're the billionaire, the next day you're the assistant, the next one you're the dom. It's really exciting. It's also kind of cool that you want to go and explore.
Yeah, no, what you said about the control and the power and the letting go of that, because it also is like, it's power, it flipped around, or control flipped around. Just that sense of freedom and exhilaration that I get to vicariously experience through a character is in its own way extremely empowering.
Have you ever, in your narration, not to get too personal or anything, but have there been moments where where you're because I say it's often on my here that I will highlight something and go, I may like to try that. Have you ever had that moment when you're narrating and you're going, that sounds interesting?
Yes. I've had moments where I'm like, how is this happening? And I have to read something really slow and by myself, this is my prep. I have to kind of put myself in the position and imagine the guy and like figure out, okay, how did this thing go? Okay. Or there's been times too where I'll be reading something and I'm like, yo, this sex is so bomb that I've got to call a friend and just, I just need to share this little passage with you. And if you're not doing anything, check out this audiobook, sis, because it's just great resources, great resources.
Yeah. Well, again, I love that you say that you share with your friends, because we do it as listeners too. We are like, oh my God, girl, have you heard this one yet? And they're like, no, not yet. It's on my next list. I'm like, no, bump it up. Or if they're around or they're like online, then you will put your device on like speaker and you're like, listen to this. And you're going, oh my God. Yeah. So that's also how we discover some of the new narrators, because I've never heard this person, but they're listening to it and they're like, oh my God, you have to listen to this passage. Similar along the lines, are you at a point now where you no longer blush? Were you a blusher when it comes down to these hot and sexy, steamy scenes?
Yes. Initially.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, wait a minute. Like the first one I said, oh, okay. The fanny up. I was just like, oh boy. Oh wow. And then I got to, it was either Stephanie Nicole Norris or Alexandria House. And I was just like, okay, here we go. And so now it's just kind of like, I'm not as, I don't blush as much,
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, oh, okay, you just go along for the ride. And I don't know, now it's more fun. And I guess too, I get where the character is at that point, right? So there's less of the narrator feeling like, okay, let me get out of the way and do the performance. And like now just it's about, okay, where is she in this moment in the story? And how is this moment affecting her? Because right, you play the balance between the narration and the and the main character. And like, so sometimes as a narrator, it's like you're kind of like the best friend, like depending on like the perspective that the narrator is coming from, you're kind of like this extra person in the room, just kind of, a voyeur, just watching the sex act, or you're the main character and just like feeling it and experiencing it with her, which is that's just always I want to say like the sex is a journey, so it just and it's, you just get to go, you just get to ride that wave too, and then sometimes so I've definitely had moments where I'm like, oh, we at the climax already, okay, wait a minute.
Where did the time go?
Yeah. And I'm like, wait, I gotta go back. I gotta do that over because I had to, build that thing up to get it to where it's supposed to be, So, but like always in the best way, always, because it's like, oh, this is an enjoyable experience that you don't want to end, but we got to turn the page to get to the rest of the story. So I've definitely had moments where I'm like, okay, I gotta take that back and take the journey again to get where I need to get to for, the listeners' understanding of what's happening.
So it sounds like you also like to have fun when because you're also getting into the story, and there might be some mistakes, but also fun outtakes when you sometimes get stuck on a word. Do you keep or record your outtakes and then maybe have like a blooper reel?
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, I like that. I don't, but you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to listen. I don't know if I should say this, but I'm gonna say it. So my joke is I will rewrite somebody's story because my engineer is always like, it doesn't say that, it says this, and I'm like, oh, my bad. But I'm like, I want to hear what the story sounds like if they never stop me. I'm sure it would not be good, but I'm always like, what did I say? I said what? But I'll be so into it that I'll just like, I don't know, I'll just switch up a word, and sometimes it is the wrongest word that it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't make any sense. But I don't know, that mouth brain eye connection is sometimes it's not working for me. But I like the idea of a blooper reel, and I'm gonna have a conversation with someone about that because that sounds funny.
Well, I'll send you some links of some of the other ones that I've seen happen. Sometimes you guys get stuck on a word and it's a normal word. Or sometimes the authors will put in words, because I know there's an author that likes to mess with her narrators.
No, who is that?
Yes, she does, and it's funny. So she'll either
you should see my face.
I can imagine. You're like, girl, tell me later who that is, so I don't get. No, I'm just kidding. In the best of ways, it's almost like a challenge. Like, will they rise to the challenge? But sometimes, it's at the same time as an author, you write the story, not maybe keeping in mind that this is going to be an audio, and then you'll have those moments where there's a lot of back-to-back B words, and you're going, bah, 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 bah. So those are those moments where you start getting tripped up. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but they're hilarious, especially if you're like a
Oh.
funny person. So I know that you would bust out with some funny anecdote when it comes down to that, you know? So that was always,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's where the fun happens in these blooper reels. It's those moments of just being human and not getting
Yeah.
through a BBBBB word, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. I can't think of any offhand, but I'm sure I have several at every time we sit down to,
Mm-hmm.
to just to start. And it's it's fun. Like there'll be times when, okay, what I do a lot is like I can curse, right?
Yeah.
So I have this habit of being like, if I mess something up a couple of times, I'm just like, bitch, and I have to be careful because I never want my engineer to think that I'm talking, you know what I mean? That I'm saying. But when I started recording by myself
Mm-hmm.
and I just started saying like, it was just like, okay. But when I'm in here like cursing at myself, I was just like, oh, okay. It's just, I don't know. It happens. It
Yeah.
happens. And you do get frustrated with yourself, but you push through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that moment of, it's clear and it just works. And you're like,
Yeah.
thank God. Oh, crap. Did I record that? 'Cause that
Yeah.
would be the deal, is that you finally get through that sentence and it's perfect, but you forgot to hit record.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Or you got through the whole thing and then you said instead of the, and you got to do it all over again. Like,
Oh,
oh yeah. You got the
yeah.
word right, but something else wrong. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, it's not an easy gig. It's not an
Mm-mm.
easy. It's not easy. And I think people sometimes think, I could do that. And like, I'm sure you can, but do you wanna?
That's what you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I've had a friend, want to get into audiobooks, and I'm like, okay, but it's not what you think. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, I like to read. I read stories. Oh, okay. I like, yeah, okay. But it's a different, it's just a different way of, like you said, I think, one, the stamina,
Yeah.
right? Like, because you're reading for a long period of time, the prep work. And someone said to me early on that it's not a race, it's a marathon. So it has to be something you really enjoy, I think.
That's important. I think anything that you do in life as a career, it makes it not only more enjoyable, but even when you're having those moments of frustration and anger because of something's not working right. And I think if you actually find joy in what you do,
Yeah.
it's okay. You can have those moments of frustration, but then you're going to find the lights and you're going to have the fun moments again. And that's good versus being
Yeah.
stuck in a shitty ass job is not good. So that's why it's
Yeah. Nobody
important
wants
to,
that.
yeah. This is why it's important. Same thing like with the authors, that they want to have, they have all this writing. It's not easy creating a story. It's not easy telling a story. You have to be a good
Yeah.
storyteller. Is there an author or narrator that you want to work with that you haven't yet?
Oh my goodness, all of them. There's so many great narrators out there, so many amazing writers that I I I want to explore every all the different genres, and it would be exciting to work with um like if I get to work with the narrators that have been in this game for, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years, you get to learn so much from um, those pros. Like working
Mm-hmm.
with Jacoby the first time, he just taught me so much just about the industry, but then narrating, and I just took the time to kind of listen to some of his work beforehand to get a sense of what he sounded like and like what I had to match. So yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and um, working with authors that I haven't yet had the opportunity to work with. So
Yeah, the listeners have a never ending to be listened pile. Sounds like you have a never
yeah,
ending to be working with pile, which is great to
I
have,
do.
which is great.
Yeah.
Speaking of that reading/listening list, do you read for fun or do you listen to audiobooks for fun?
I used to.
Okay,
Um,
I know you're busy and you've been kept really busy. Sorry for you, not sorry for us as the listeners. That so before you got so busy, you would listen and read books?
Yeah, so the last book I listened to was Intercepted. Alexis Martin wrote it, and January LaVoy narrated it. Man, I loved that. And you know what was so great about that book is that it was one of those books that I saw so vividly. And I still carry certain images from listening to that book. I still carry them with me. Like, I'm still at the bar that she worked at. I often take this train ride that she took when she moved to New York or New Jersey. That was one of my favorites. What? Yeah, I think that was the last audiobook that I listened to. And it was good. It was real good. I have this dream that like I'll listen to, you know what I do? You know what I have listened to? Because I think it's so funny. It's a book I narrated. Nasty Naughty, Sabrina B. Scales.
Yeah, I heard that
sometimes.
one.
What? Huh?
I heard of
You
that
heard of it?
one. Yeah. Told it's really good.
I have listened to that because I was just like, I had a day where I was like, you know what? I need to pick me up. So I went back and checked that one out.
So do you listen to any of the books that because I know that when it comes down to narrating, especially dual, you would only do your side of the narration. Mm-hmm. Do you ever go back and actually listen to the entire book once it's done?
I haven't, but I have daydreamed about taking a road trip and listening to a full book, but I haven't yet.
Always good to have a list of things to do.
Yes.
As a reader, do you have a favorite author?
Yeah, Alexa Martin. Definitely. Loved Intercepted. I gotta get to the other ones though. I wanna either read or listen to the other books that she's written. She's funny.
That's good.
She's really funny.
Cool. To add these to my list.
But you know I got my girls that I love. I'm huge fans of all the authors that I've narrated for, like Sabrina B. Scales and Christina C. Jones, Dania Marie, and Stephanie Nicole Norris. And I also love a lot Miss House for sure. And Jacinta Howard. Here's what I love about these women. They have created spaces where I feel so safe and loved and free, and these worlds where, like, in my case, a Black woman can just flourish. And I am so grateful. And I think that's another reason why I love to narrate, because I get to escape into these places that reflect back to me like my beauty and my love, my capacity to love and be loved, and have fun and be funny and be sexy and go on adventures. You know, like it's just
it's an escapism. You know, that's why we listen.
Totally. Yeah, it is. I'm grateful that this is my job.
Well, so here's a funny. You know, I've interviewed Jacoby. And since then, we've become buddies and stuff like that. And I'm a huge fan of his. So I sent him a text a little earlier in the day. And I said, so, hey, I'm going to be talking to Wesleigh.
No, you didn't. No, you did. What you do that for? What he say? What he say, girl?
I say, hey, I'm going to be talking to Wesleigh. Do you have any questions that you want me to ask? You know,
no. Oh my God. Let me take a sip. Oh my God.
Because part of it's one of those, like, I'm waiting because it's like a running joke with all, you know, anytime that we have a peer or you know, an office mate, we always want to know that we're the favorite, you know? So I thought he was going to bust out with like, oh, ask her, you know, how's it working with me, or if I'm her favorite, you know, co-narrator. And I'm going, I was surprised. He actually asked like, which author is her favorite. And so
Oh,
you kind of answered the question without me even having to ask. I try not to ask that question though, because
mm,
you always want to make your clients feel like they're always your favorites. But you
yeah,
so eloquently explained why these ladies are your favorites. So Jacoby, there you
yeah.
go. She gave you your answer.
I do. I do love them all.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the ones that I didn't mention, like all of them have, I don't know, like romance is amazing. And I think as a kid, I would read the books that my mom had around the house, and I never really looked at them as like romance novels. They were just stories about Black women. And I don't know. I feel like I had an opportunity to explore that even more as an adult, in my career.
I know that's one of the reasons why listeners love these audiobooks and or books in
Mm,
general, is that ability to be able to escape and
yeah,
be the girl next door, or be the princess
yeah,
in the castle, or to be, yes, there are billionaire women out there in this genre, okay?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You
And
know?
all of that, quite honestly, is like an actor's dream. It's like
Yeah.
I get to play all of these women at these different times in their lives and navigate life with them. I've learned a lot too.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing, like places, or learning that there's the accents too. Sometimes, like, I did not know that I was gonna like that accent, but when you do it,
Mhm,
yes, babe. You know, or sometimes the books will mention a recipe of some sort. I'm like, I did not think to do
Girlfriend,
that. You know what I mean?
can I tell you something?
Sure. Tell me.
Oh wait, this might bleed into the questions you asked me to. We can cut
Oh,
that part
oh,
out.
yeah, because we have a game coming up. Yeah, so
All right,
maybe
I'll leave
hold it
that
for later.
alone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll do.
Yes.
I'll ask you later what you're going to tell me if it doesn't come up naturally.
Okay.
But again, it goes back to that whole thing where, we discover new things.
Hmm.
Sometimes there's music involved in some of the series. They'll be the rock star, and all of a sudden we did not realize that we liked country music or something else.
Yeah.
So it's an awesome genre to just learn a lot and just be okay and be
Yeah.
safe to be able to explore these different sides. But you eloquently
Yeah.
said that, so thank you.
Thank
Mm.
you.
Of all the characters that you've played and that you performed and voiced for these romance books, is there one that has resonated with you the most? And if so, which one?
Um. Ooh, resonated with me. Oh my goodness. Well, one that I was walking around feeling like I was the baddest bitch was when I read Deuces Wild,
Mhm.
Ace, because she is an assassin. And I was running around telling everybody I just played an assassin. So back up,
You learned some
that
tricks.
was, well, now I
Yeah.
don't know, but I just felt like a badass. I was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
listen, y'all can't handle me. Um, what else? Yeah, that was that was fun. Um, but yeah, I think one thing I really do like about the characters that Christina C. Jones creates is oftentimes there are women that I'm like, oh, of course she exists in the world. I I don't know Black women that are or women. I don't really know any women. Of course they're out there, but like poker players and uh one book that I got to work on, the culmination of everything was the woman opens up a winery, and you know it's just cool to like get to explore all these different industries with these women and meet all these people that just have influence in the world in a way that I didn't really consider before. I never considered the life of an assassin. To be able to do that, oh my God, it was just great. It was cool. So I don't know. They all a lot of them, a lot of her characters stick with me. And then Jacinta Howard's series, I think all of those women, these were like college age younger women who had four different expressions of coming into understanding love and how they wanted to be loved, how they were loved, and what adjustments they needed to make to find a better love. Well, one, that series always sticks with me because you didn't ask me this, but I'll say it. The guy that sticks with me the most is Bam from that last little book in that series. That was Bam, and it was Jersey, Willow, Kennedy. Lord have mercy. See, I did the thing. I put myself inside of the female character because Bam was coming to save me. But like Bam was the guy that I think I felt the most connected to. And when I think about, okay, the kind of man I want to show up in my life, like, because he was just strong. And
what book was this again?
the book was Lovin Cassie. And there was just a sweet, okay. Once we got to the love, it was sweet, but they definitely had a journey getting there. And I think that particular character of the series was the one I related to the most. Yeah, so Bam showing up the way he did. I'm crushing on Bam hard.
It's okay. We call those book boyfriends, and we have many.
Yeah, okay. That's my book boyfriend, baby. Yeah.
It's the same thing like when we fall for the narrators and you guys, they're like, oh, who's your favorite? I'm like, why do we have to choose? We're like in a polyamorous relationship. We love them all. That is cool. I'm going to have to look that one up and listen to that. You did mention that you were really, really busy lately because of all the work. And again, sorry for you, not for us.
I'm thankful.
No, it's good. It's good. When you're not working, what do you do for fun?
Okay. So I've given up drinking wine because for some reason, every time I drink wine, like my nose gets all stuffy, and I don't like that. I start sneezing, and it's just a problem.
That's an allergy.
So I decided, yeah, and I'm not appreciating that. So I decided I'm not going to drink wine anymore. I'm just going to drink hard liquor, which has turned me to making cocktails. So yeah, so that's my hobby now. I have dinner with a friend once a week, and so I've been making cocktails. This is fairly new.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, just like, well, I'm not going to stop sipping. I'll just sip different.
Change the sip.
Yeah, I'll change the sip. So I make cocktails now. My most recent cocktail is I didn't see the title of it, but it's basically like, okay, I didn't know rum was so specific, but like there's all kinds of rum. And I got kind of like a middle color because it's like the dark and then the light and the gold. So this is a mix of rum, ginger beer, maple syrup, and apple cider. And I think I did a bourbon cocktail a couple weeks ago. So
girl, I know who I'm calling when I want a cocktail.
Please do. I'm trying to be that girl. So I do make cocktails. What else do I do for fun? I've been working out, and I have a friend who is a beast, in the best way. And I started working out with her via Zoom because of, COVID situations. And that has actually been a lot of fun. Once I realized I wasn't going to die and, we would, and I started to like, oh, okay, I like my arms now. This is okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to our exercises, our little workouts. What else? Do I live a boring life? I'm sure I do more things that are exciting.
Well, you've been so busy, and so it's been a little bit difficult for you to have all these extracurricular activities.
Maybe, but no, I gotta do.
I'm trying to help you out here again.
No.
But I mean, it's the cocktail stuff sounds like fun. And I know Jacoby likes to drink his bourbon. Is it?
Does he drink bourbon? Don't tell me that.
I think he does. See, I'm so bad. I always get bourbon and whiskey mixed up. That's where I need to get better. But I think he does bourbon. I think. Because then a Connor, I think, is the whiskey. One of those two. I have too many boys.
Your book boyfriends, girl.
Yeah, my book boyfriends, I'm getting them confused. But yeah, he has I think it's bourbon. For some reason, when you were talking about the cocktails, it automatically, came to me about it'd be kind of cool if you created cocktails based on your characters.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh, girlfriend, yes. I like that.
It's just a strong characteristic, something about her huskiness, or the assassin. You may want to do the bourbon as a base.
Yes. I like it. I like everything about. I see why Jacoby held on to you, because I'm not letting go either. So he's gonna have to share.
I'm okay with that.
You got good ideas. I love it.
Yeah. So we've actually reached the part of the conversation where I play a game with my guests and I try to figure out. So you're going to tell me. So the game is 2 truths and a lie. And so you're going to tell me 3 different things, 2 of which are truth and 1 is a lie. And I have to figure out with the listeners, because they always play along with me. At least I want to think that they do. They're probably going, Viv, you're nuts. We're just waiting to answer. See if you mess up. But yeah, they play along with me to figure out which is the lie. So if you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So tell me your 3 things.
Okay. I have narrated a romance novel at home in lingerie while sipping a cocktail. I cook recipes that I discover from the books that I read, that I narrate. I am studying to be an aromatherapist.
Damn you, woman. All 3. Okay, so I want to say that the cooking thing is something, I think we all do that. Again, I kind of briefly mentioned it. I think that that's a truth, that we all do that, that you discovered and cooked things based on the books, right? Okay, so that's the truth.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah, okay, I have done that. Can I tell you the first thing I made? Because it was so good.
Yeah, what was it?
So I think it was Miss House's book. She had a sweet potato bourbon pound cake, baby. Oh, I made that. That was, it was so good. Oh my goodness.
Nice.
It was so good.
I do like it when the authors put some of those recipes in there, because it's like, you have memories of the book that you love and then the characters, and you're like, when you're creating, you're like, maybe this is what it felt like.
Yes. Yeah.
Then you have narrating in lingerie while drinking, and aromatherapy. And I can see you doing both of those things, because you are a very strong woman, and I feel that you are very good with your body and your intentions and stuff like that. And at the same time, very healthy with your aromatherapy. So, oh my God. Narrators are individual and interesting creatures. I've heard stories of how things are getting narrated sometimes. I think I've never been this stumped before. And I've been doing this for a little bit with this game. Okay. I'm going to go with... Stop. Boom. And the suspense music. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with the lingerie being true.
No.
Oh, okay.
But you know why you probably felt like it was true? This was kind of tricky, because I really want to. I just haven't done it yet. But I really want to, yeah, you were feeling my vibe.
Yes, I was, yeah.
I narrated a book with Emmanuel Ingram, and we were talking about it one time, you know what? I think I would have just because it was equivalent exchange, and that book was so sexy, and so that's when the idea came up. So it's something in my back pocket of future me will do that.
So the aromatherapy, you're starting to do that?
Yes, because I'm just interested in it, and
girl, me too. That's why I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And I found a course that I can do online, so I can do it at my leisure. Yeah, so I started that recently. Oh, so that's a hobby. Boom, boom, ba, boom, boom,
Boom,
boom.
yeah. Comes full
And that's
circle, you know,
it
it comes
comes
full circle.
right back around.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, that was fun. And I hope the listeners guessed better than I did. But again, in all fairness, that's the vibe. I can, you know, it's all, but I think it's true sometimes, like we want to feel sexy or stuff. We'll put on lipstick, we'll put on that,
Yeah.
you know, outfit and stuff like that just to feel that way. And
Yeah.
especially after all these months, and, like, I'm gonna put
Yeah,
on
I
some
know.
lipstick.
I know. I would be afraid to drink and record. No, because like I don't know what would happen. I already try to, say things that aren't there and have to be corrected, but
You know, I think
I
it would
don't
be a
know.
matter of knowing, like timing it out, knowing that you're going to do it
Yeah.
today because you still have days to record it in case it's really
Oh,
bad.
yeah. You know what? I'm gonna try it and see what happens.
I mean, worst case
And
scenario, you have to re-record it, but you planned for it, so it's
best case
okay.
scenario.
Best case scenario, it's a
Right.
damn good idea.
Hey, hey, hey.
And you got something off your to-do list, and you're good.
Right.
Before we go, can you tell us what you're currently working on or what's coming next for you that you can share?
I recently did a motorcycle club book, Bad for Me by Shanora Williams. I've worked on another book by Dania Marie, and I think we have some other ones coming as well, but Unexpected Love. Oh, and then Kim Lorraine, Tempted by the Queen, which that was super cool because the way that was set up, it felt like it's almost like an audio drama because they weren't like chapters, they were sections of text that I recorded. So I'm really interested in listening to that to see how that turned out. And
It's
then,
really good.
wow,
Oh,
so
it's
excited.
really good. And I will say, because I am very proud of that, that I'm helping with the marketing side of stuff, but I also prepped the script for it.
Yeah.
And so I got to read it, and I was like reminding myself that I need to go a little quicker because I had to prep the script for you guys. But I was so
Oh.
engrossed in the story, and I was like, and I could hear
Eh.
you guys. So when it came down to your character, I heard you as a character kind of thing, and I'm
Mm.
going, oh my God, this is going to be so good.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun because the character that I read was almost like kind of gave me this oracle vibe, and I've never got to play a character like that before. So that was pretty dope. Um yeah, and then I hope I can say this because I'm telling all the tea. So and then Jacinta Howard has a prototype series coming out where it's kind of like a catch up of what happened to the guys that are in the band, the prototype, and then the girls too that are in the band, the women, and just those stories following those four couples and where they are now. And I cannot wait to get back to that to see where everybody is and what they're doing. So, but that'll be in a little while that we work on that. So.
Oh, I do like it when authors catch us up in love. I mean, I know that sometimes it's a project, they finish it and they're done, but we fall in love with
Yeah.
the characters
Yeah.
and we want to know what happened next. Okay, I know they haven't happily ever after, but how are they doing? You know?
For real.
So yeah, so
I
that's
still
cool.
think about them.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
it comes up, or you'll see something in the store, or you'll see something on TV, and you're like, hey, that reminds me about that book boyfriend I had.
That's
Wonder how
right.
he's doing.
Yeah, because I daydreamed that whole prototype series. Like I just daydreamed about them, and I remember writing her, and I was just like, "Yo, I miss them. I
Mhm.
miss the gang because they were my buddies for a minute."
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah, it's great. You kind of when the authors can do that and they make you want to be friends with these characters,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of want to write to them and say, "Who are they in real life?" Because I seriously want to be their friends. Um, you know, but that's also a testament to how awesome the writing is. You know
Truly,
that they really want you.
truly.
That you're like, oh, damn it, I wish it was real. You know.
Yeah,
So and like I said, book boyfriends and book best friends. That's how we do.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Wesleigh, for taking the time to chat with me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this was an amazing experience for me. You are wonderful, and I'm keeping you.
Thank you. I like being kept. It was great talking. It was so much fun. And if you're not following Wesleigh on social media, I will give you all the links to make sure that you do follow her. And that way we can learn about new upcoming stuff and just get to know her better and hang out and tell her also, obviously, how awesome she is in the book that we're listening to. And then you can find all those links in the website for Viviana, Enchantress of Books. And until next time, happy listening.
A heartfelt thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Susie Vanderham, Michelle Sutton, Jing Kemp, Jen Franklin, Brittany Cottingham, Kimberly Reed, Leanne Schwartz, Danny Johnson, Christine Cox, Christy Reitz, Jennifer Graham, Cindy Pittman, Mendy Summer, Jenny Johnson, Jesse Stafford, Chrissy Font, Rhonda Pezzarello, Evelyn Clarisi, Michelle DaCosta, Emily Dye, Michelle Bestard, Farah Blair, Candice Patel, Carol Liebner, Bethany Crane, and Teresa Martin. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive early access to podcast episodes, exclusive content with our guests, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/audiobooklovin. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.